Hey, everybody. Glad you're with us today. This is October 19th, Thursday, a blustery fall afternoon here. The sun's shining, but it is just windy like crazy. Uh, so, feeling kind of brisk in fall. I hope it's pleasant weather where you are. I'm flying solo today. Taylor's downtown here in Nashville at a convention, and so I get the pleasure of doing this one solo and talking about something that I've been involved in now for what feels like decades, pretty much decades. Content marketing. So this is going to be an interesting conversation. Going to talk a little bit about um, how content marketing is different than other marketing first. But before I get started, let me just thank everybody for being here. If you're joining us live, make sure you give us a thumbs up or a like or a heart or something just to say hey and let us know. Drop us a comment in the Facebook feed as we're going, or in YouTube, and make sure that I see those and acknowledge those as we go here. If you're going to be watching this after the live, then you can always drop a comment. Let us know that you saw it. You can ask questions even after it's live, so that we can see those questions and be able to answer those on future shows. So thanks everybody for joining us. All right, so content marketing. Let's just talk for a second about what content marketing isn't. Okay. First of all, content marketing is not direct business marketing. Okay, it's not me standing up with a megaphone and shouting at the top of my lungs, hey, my company is this. We do X, Y, and Z, and if you need that, then call here and do business with us, right? That's direct marketing. That's me putting an offer or something, of like an offer in front of somebody saying, this is what we do, this is how much we do it for, here's a special offer, do business with us. Content marketing is actually marketing of the content. The content hopefully is relevant to the people who are your customers in the business that you perform for money, but the content isn't where you make your money. The services that you perform is where you make your money. The content is just bait. I hate that term because it sounds manipulative, but it's the tool that you're using to provide value to people, even if they may not be your target audience right now, right? They may not be ready to buy, they may not be ready to call and schedule an appointment, but they have an interest in what you do, and they have an interest in learning more about a particular part of their home, for example, right? We market in home services. We help home services companies grow their businesses. And so, whether it's chimney systems, I mean, it's a complex system that most people have never even gotten down on their knees and looked up their flue and seen the inside of their chimney, much less understand the physics of how that works. There's a whole lot of stuff, and a lot of important stuff, I would argue. I mean, this is essentially inviting fire into the middle of your home. People have questions. And in fact, they have questions they don't even know they have yet. In other words, as you present good content, it's going to generate more interest and more questions because it's such an unexamined part of their home they've never really thought much about. But the same is true regardless of what home service you might provide, whether it's roofing systems or vinyl siding or new windows or hardwood flooring or plumbing and electrical, whatever it may be. So the goal of content marketing is creating a strategy for putting good, informative, concise, and insightful information in front of your audience, that audience being your prospective customer, so that when the time comes, they're ready to purchase from you because you've demonstrated expertise and you've been helpful, right? So you've bred goodwill in that relationship because you've provided stuff that they're interested in. So that really is the goal. That's it, period. Content marketing, everything else around content marketing is an opportunity for you to consistently put good information in front of people. So let's break it down a little bit, talk about it. So I just gave you kind of a definition of it. It's a strategy that involves creating and putting in front of people, wherever they are online, that target audience of yours, your prospective customer, relevant, consistent, valuable information and content that attracts them to your business, okay, indirectly. So let's talk about content creation. This is where most conversations about content marketing really reside. This is where we get into the, well, you've got to have a video camera, or you've got to write a blog post or have a blog. You've got to, create and use graphic design in order to create posts for social media. You've got to have a camera, these kind of down to the techniques and things for creating content. I've been to over decades now. I've been to multiple seminars and webinars and live events where there were courses and classes all about the technical part of content creation, the how to create stuff. And technology's changed a lot over the years, and as it has, it's become easier in some ways to create content, but it's also become a little more difficult because there's just more and more places to put that content. And each one of those places requires a little bit different formatting. And so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about the how-to part of creating content. I would argue it's probably the least important part. And I know I get in trouble with people who are like, oh no, you've got to have good production value, and it's got to look good, and it can't look cheap and chintzy and like it was shot with a 10-year-old flip phone, and yada yada. Okay, sure. And in fact, I would say that you're right, that creating good content, you should do it. You should get the equipment that you can afford, the best equipment that you can afford to do this with. But at the same time, if you don't have much that you can afford, does it mean you can't participate in a content strategy for content marketing? No, I would say it doesn't matter at all. If it's good content, people can be forgiving of the fact that the production value is a little, the camera is a little bit shaky, or the quality is just not, the audio quality is just not up to top, broadcast production standards. Okay. But creating good content starts with providing value to your audience. That's the number one thing. Like if you were making a cake and you left out one ingredient and the cake was still going to work, then in content creation, in that cake, the thing that you cannot leave out, the thing that is indispensable, is creating value with your customer, making sure that it's relevant to them, and is addressing something that they care about, period. Every successful content strategy that I've ever seen for content marketing provides value to their customer. And that value can be defined in a whole lot of different ways. Sometimes that value can just be as simple as entertainment value. Just making them laugh can be enough for them for you to get on their radar, and for them to pay attention to who you are and what you have to say. So entertainment's not a bad strategy in terms of content value, but it does absolutely need to have value. The formats are, that's where we can talk about, should it be videos? Should it be an audio podcast or a video podcast? Is it a blog? Is it articles released in Trade magazine every month? Is it I don't know, social media posts? Is it infographics? Is it, on and on and on? The content forms can spread over a lot of different types of content, and maybe you experiment with a lot of different ones, but ultimately you're going to find that part of what makes your content marketing strategy successful is picking a form that is easier for you to create, one that you understand better, like you just feel it's more natural for you to do this kind of content versus some other kind of content. I'll give you an example. It's very natural for me to sit and talk into a camera like this, but I know for a lot of people it creeps them out. It's the weirdest feeling at all, to be staring at a little device with a light on it and talking and staying focused on, what you're saying. And in the beginning, it was not as easy as it is now for me, but this is an easy format for me to do. I can knock down 30 minutes pretty easily now and spend less than 30 minutes really planning what I need to say, so long as I'm staying in my wheelhouse. I mean, if I'm staying around those things that I know really well, then I can usually plan out what I need to say with less than 30 minutes and then get in front of a camera and go and feel really good about it and feel confident that it's providing good value. I know my audience really well, and so I know what clicks, I know what their questions are. I've been doing this so long, so it's easy to do for me. However, graphic design, while I love graphic design, I've been a graphic designer. I really do enjoy presenting compelling visual stories and design. But I get so in my head and so perfectionistic and tweaking, and it's never done, and it's a piece of art that will never be just exactly right, and I always hesitate to release it to the world, and it takes me for freaking ever to do. And so for that reason, I don't do a whole lot of infographics. I don't do a whole lot of really visual designed social media posts and things like that, because I know myself, and I know that I can waste a whole lot of time doing what other people can do very quickly. I get too close to it, I guess is what I'm saying. So it's not for me. So you'll need to understand what is for you and what's not. Also understanding your audience. You need to know cold. You just need to know every single question that a customer is going to ask before they ever ask it. And if you've been doing what you've been doing for a while, you should know this. You've heard all the questions. You know what people are going to ask. You know what people's concerns are. You know what people's misunderstandings are about the things that you do. They think that it's about this when in fact it's really about this. And you have the ability to set them straight and do it in a way that's educational and informative without being insulting or condescending. And so understanding your audience is a key to making sure that your content sticks and resonates. I'm going to move quickly through some of these here because they're important points, but not a whole lot needs to be said. Content distribution. Once you have good content, where do you put it? And the kind of content that you really enjoy creating needs to match with the platform that you're going to be distributing it by. So if it's video, then there's a few places that really make sense for video: Facebook, YouTube, your website. Those are the key places just right off the bat where video makes a lot of sense. Video doesn't make sense in a direct mail marketing context, right? I mean, the cost of sending video to people through the mailbox would be cost prohibitive in most cases. I've seen some people do it on really high ticket things and it kills. It's great, but the expense of that is ridiculous. And so that's not how you're going to distribute your content through direct mail if you're doing video. However, if you're doing articles, then your distribution is going to be through trade journals. It's going to be through local magazines. It's going to be through advertorials, things like that you can purchase into that give you a lot of good options for getting your story out in print. So distribution can be actually get it out to a lot of people who have never heard of you before, and do that very effectively. So knowing how to distribute your content, making sure that that's a match with the kind of content that you're creating. We've talked a lot about this one. I'd say in the past 3 episodes, the word consistency has been a point that we've talked about with regard to content marketing and social media strategy. Consistency is key, I think is how we've said it just about every single time. And the point still remains. When you are creating content haphazardly, like whenever you have time, then large gaps of time are going to go by where no content is being created. What you're ultimately wanting to do is habituate your audience to expect new content on a regular, consistent schedule so that they'll be there for it, so that they're tuned into it, so that they know that it's going to drop and they know to go look for it. I have several channels on YouTube that I follow, content creators who are I'll use the word religious about dropping good content on a consistent basis. One guy, it's every Sunday night. And I know that like clockwork, Sunday night, 7 p.m. By 7 p.m. it's dropped, and I can go and that's what I watch Sunday night in bed before falling asleep and getting ready for the rest of the week. So, and I really enjoy the content. So it's, knowing that I'm going to plan my week around that. I look forward to it because it's serialized content. I mean, it's like chapter type content where to be continued sort of things. And so you get to pick up every Sunday night with where he's left off and what he's accomplished during a week. It's really cool. So think about consistency. Think about what kind of content that you can create and that you can commit to be consistent in creating. If it's certain kinds of video that can take hours and hours and hours of production in order to create, then it may be hard to commit to a weekly consistency, content schedule. You might have to do it just monthly, which is fine. I mean, monthly is not as good as weekly, but at the same time, if what you're creating is truly, really valuable, people will wait, and people they'll get on that monthly schedule with you, and you'll have a captive audience that really is tuned in for what you're doing next. But consistency, absolutely the key. It's the reason that why Taylor's not here today. He's doing something else that he needs to do. Why we didn't just cancel the show today and not have one, and why I'm here talking to you without my partner, because we know that consistency is important, and we need to be producing content on a regular basis. So when one of us can't be here, the other tries to get that done. When neither of us can be here, then we're looking for ways to rerun something or pre-record something in order to get it in place for others to be able to watch during that normal time slot, so we stay consistent. All right. Value in education. I've kind of already said this. You want to be informative, educational, not always just educational. Sometimes entertainment's just better than education. I mean, you can be really entertaining, and education can take a backseat to that. Some of my favorite things are like watching the plumber horror stories of, you're getting to, a plumber has been called to an emergency plumbing situation in a customer's home, and they're walking into they don't know what, but they're rolling their camera at the same time as they're walking into it. So you get to see the horror show, of what's going wrong in someone's home at the same time that the plumber is seeing it too. And that's entertaining. It's less about education and more about the wow factor or the shock factor. And so that can be entertaining. It just has to have value. In other words, value is it's perception, right? Value is in the eye of the beholder. So I may think it's valuable, but if my audience doesn't think it's valuable, if they didn't find anything redeeming about it, if they didn't find any reason to say, that was worth the 3 minutes I just gave it, or the 10 minutes or the 30 minutes that I just gave it, then you've missed what value means. You haven't provided value to your customer. So it has to be that your intended target audience, your prospective customer, thinks it's valuable. Content is not created in a vacuum. You can create content and a marketing strategy around content, but if you're not measuring and analyzing what it can do for you and what it is doing for you, then you may be just shouting into the void and not really understanding how your content could be more targeted, better suited, more value, pinpointing the specific people in your audience that can be your next valuable customer. So measuring and analyzing becomes an absolute key to moving your content strategy forward and maturing it over time. Maybe you guys have heard this saying before that, I heard a business coach one time say, yeah, my client that I'm coaching, keeps saying that he's got 30 years of experience, but he doesn't. He's got 1 year of experience he's repeated 30 times, and that just blew my socks off when I heard that. I thought, wow, someone who's been in business that long, but is just who's refusing to grow, who's refusing to take stock of himself personally and his business in order to create those moments where you say, if I did this differently, how would that impact the results that I'm getting? And, if I listen to the people who are telling me that I'm not doing this part right, and I change that, would that create the momentum that I need in order to get to the next level? That's 30 years of business instead of 1 year of business repeated 30 times. And I think the same is true for a marketing a content strategy. You can do content for years and never really stop to reflect on how it's meeting the needs of the people that you're putting it out to. Maybe just stopping and asking your audience, hey, is there something else that we should be talking about here other than what we're talking about? Or would a different format help you get what we're trying to tell you? And just asking some of those kinds of questions of your audience is a good thing. So I'll stop here and invite that with the audience that we are in front of every single week. I feel like I know what you need because I hear a lot of the questions that we get asked by home service companies who are looking at digital marketing strategies. But at the same time, if there's something we're missing, or if we're saying it in a way that doesn't connect with you, I personally would love to hear that. And I know my partner Taylor would as well. I would love to know if there's something we could do differently to meet your needs, to provide better and more value quicker to the heart of what it is that you really need from us. So that's just an invitation anytime. Make sure that you can leave that as a comment below. You can email us anytime, Carter@sparkmarketer.com and Taylor@sparkmarketer.com, just to give us a chance to reflect on that input. That would be helpful to us. Thank you. All right, long-term strategy. If you think that creating 1 or 2 videos or a blog post, or you get serious about social media posting for a month and then Christmas happens and you don't pick it back up again in the beginning of the year. I mean, these are all stories that are just common. We all have good intentions when we start out, and then we realize we didn't count the cost. There's a tremendous time investment that this kind of content strategy requires. And if we haven't considered that, then sometimes we get bogged down in it and just decide, it just fizzles. We keep hitting our head against the wall and it just doesn't stay consistent. It is a long-term strategy. It is absolutely every overnight success that we've ever seen with regard to people who've created good content marketing strategies. Every overnight success has been a 10-year journey or a 5-year journey of crafting and getting it right and changing the approach and changing how they do what they do in order to best get in front of the people that they need to. It really is a craft, and it really is worth putting energy into it for the long term. Don't be afraid to change as you go, as you grow. Make sure that growth involves change in your content. If you're doing the exact same thing you've been doing since day one, there's a good chance that the world around you has changed in such a way that what you're doing is no longer relevant, or the voice you're using to communicate it is no longer ringing the bells that it used to. So make sure that you adapt to those changes. And the platforms change a lot, the way that the content is produced. I know in the past, YouTube was a place for a certain kind of video, and then it was a little bit more long form. And then Facebook and Instagram, they started these stories where it was just quick. TikTok, did it where, it's just these quick little 4 or 5 second type videos. And now we're seeing that Facebook and YouTube are a good place for some of those things as well. So if you're great at the short form video, I'm not personally, I'm too long-winded and I admit it freely. But if you're good at the short form stuff, then it could be that YouTube 5 years ago wasn't, but YouTube now is actually a pretty good place for that. So adapt to the changes, keep your ear open and see what other people are doing. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, but it's also the surest path to success. So don't be afraid to imitate what other people are doing if you see that it's successful for them. Storytelling, this is where I love the content that I mentioned to you earlier that I watch every Sunday night on YouTube. This guy is telling a story. He's rehabbing a centuries-old Italian stone house. It's actually a compound. It's about 3 different structures, 3 different buildings, and it's on the side of a mountain in the Italian Alps. And he is doing the entire thing on his own. and it is fascinating. So every single week he's taking video of the entire process that he's doing, but every single week he is kind of creating another chapter in the story of what he accomplished during that week, the struggles and the wins and everything else along the way. And it's a story, and it's unfolding as we go. And he's created, I don't know, over probably maybe close to 100. I'm not sure exactly the number now, but these episodes, and they're almost all about 45 minutes to an hour. And he's telling a story, and it's riveting to me. And I know it's not for everybody, but that's okay. He's got an audience, and I'm one of them. I mean, I'm definitely, if he was selling something, I'd be buying. As it is, his strategy is, advertising dollars. He's got enough viewers that he makes money off the advertising during, that's rolled during his videos. But I'm there for it, and I really enjoy it. So storytelling is something that you ought to consider. Serializing what you're doing, telling a long form story. If you are doing the kind of work that's a big project, I'm thinking of like landscaping or hardscaping or pool and spa, design and installation, backyard patio areas and entertainment areas, or house construction, or serious masonry work. I think there's a large number of people that tune into that kind of thing because it's fascinating to watch other people work, and it tells a story of how things have unfolded. So I'm just, drop that out there. I know it's not for everybody because it does require commitment to consistency and rolling tape at all times during an installation or during a job. And that can take some discipline and everything else, but it can be riveting, and it can grow an audience for you that is much different and much bigger, and can lead to other interesting things besides just simply scoring your next local client. So think about that as something that you can do. All right, promotion and engagement. This is where a content strategy, where the marketing part comes down, right? We're not using content to promote our business directly. We're not saying, hey, do business with us. You're saying, hey, here's useful information that I think you need to know that's related to what we do for a living. So if you're interested in this kind of thing and need some help with it, we can help, right? It's secondary to the content. The content is the thing. So what you're promoting is the content. You're wanting engagement around that content, and then hoping that by engaging with people, by familiarizing them with you and what you do, by becoming an expert in their eyes, you'll win the chance to win their business when it's time, when they need you for that service. So it's not a direct kind of thing. It's not like Google advertising. It's not like SEO for your website. Although I think you should consider optimizing all of the content that you create and getting interested in how you can optimize content for the various channels so that it gets seen by more people. Why wouldn't you want it to be seen by as many people as possible, right? So it's worth looking at that. But what you're promoting and engaging is really, social media. You can build an email list. That's a great thing about content, is using it to build an email list. These are people who are engaging with your content, want more of that content. They're not necessarily saying, I'm going to call your office and schedule an appointment, but they're saying, I'm very interested in what you have to do. And I know that when it's time, I'm going to call you to help me do that thing that you do. So that's the promotion and marketing side. Well, gosh, I hit the 30-minute mark right on the nose today. So my job is done. That's content marketing as I understand it. And some of the things that I think home service businesses specifically need to be thinking about and considering in deploying a marketing strategy that's around content. I will say that this podcast is not only available live when we do it every Thursday, but you can also find it on all of your podcast places. So wherever you find and download podcasts, look for Spark Live by Spark Marketer, and Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, Podvine, etc. Look for that. and find it and enjoy it. Next week, we are going to be doing our monthly Q&A. Taylor will be back with us. I think he'll be back with us next week. If not, I'll be here again. But either way, we'll be doing question and answers from you. So if you have questions that you'd like us to answer, make sure that you shoot us an email. You can email me, carter@sparkmarketer.com, and I'll make sure that that question gets put in our spreadsheet so that we can answer that. If not next week, then in one of the future Q&As that we do. Thanks, everybody, for being a part of this and for listening to me for 30 solid minutes. Appreciate it. Hope everyone has a great rest of the week. Thanks. Bye-bye.